guys know the lyrics. Come on and join me. Welcome Sunday morning. Welcome to this moment in our world. Yeah, I said welcome. Welcome to this sacred space and the sights and sounds and tastes. Can you feel it? If you can, then clap your hands. Can't you feel it? If you feel it, stand up on your feet and you feel it. Oh, we are welcome here from different walks of life. Leave your worries at the door and come inside. We are welcome here. Troubles cast aside. We are all as one as we sway from side to side. Let me see you swing out. Yeah. Welcome to this moment in our world. Yeah. Welcome to our human revolution. And we're born into the movement. Can you feel it? If you can, then clap your hands. Put your hands together. Can't you feel it? If you feel it, stand up on your feet and you feel it. You feel it. And we are gathered here from different walks of life. Leave your worries at the door and come inside. We are welcome here. Troubles cast aside. We are all as one as we sway from side to side. Welcome. We are gathered here from different walks of life. Leave your worries at the door and come inside. We are welcome here. Troubles cast aside. We are all as one as we sway from side to side. Welcome to you and you and you out in the internet, in your home on Sunday morning, right here in unity. Yeah, I said welcome.
Welcome indeed. Good morning, everyone. My name is Valerie Hope. I'm serving as your celebration assistant this morning. Very special Sunday indeed. Last weekend, we celebrated Reverend Doug's birthday, and he has a thank you message for each of you. He personally requested to Snoopy dance. That's not my choice, but that's how excited and how grateful he was for not only the wonderful treats that Raina and others brought, but also the card that we signed, and his words are, your love, words of affirmation, sweet treats, and kindness were greatly appreciated for my birthday last Sunday. You are awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love, Reverend Doug. Yay. Aww. We heart you too, Reverend Doug. Lovely. We have a few upcoming speakers, and today and next week we have the privilege of having two of our ministerial candidates presenting. So we're looking forward to that. Let me explain a little bit about how that's going to go. So today, first of all, let's welcome Reverend Ann Hickey. She's accompanied by her husband today. And you all are involved in this process. So our board is counting on you to provide the feedback for each of our candidates. And we'll do so through an evaluation survey. First of all, for those of you on live stream, you will be given a link to an evaluation survey in the chat or in the comments section, so make sure you look out for that. You will click on the link, complete the evaluation, and it will be submitted automatically to us. And we also consider, not only for those online, but also here, that as you evaluate, to do so prayerfully. Make sure that that's always at the heart of our evaluations. You should see any other additional instructions in the chat as well. Now, for those of you here in the sanctuary, if you're not staying for the Q&A, the question and answer period after the service, which we'll have, we will provide you with not only a website link, a QR code, or a hard copy of the evaluation form that you'll be given. Please, we ask you that you take time, fill out the evaluation before you leave, and there's a basket right at the back wall of the foyer where you can drop your evaluation form. Those of you that are staying for the Q&A, it might behoove you to actually take the evaluation form and keep it until after the Q&A is complete so that you have some extra information. We're only going to be accepting online and in-person evaluations today. So that link will no longer be working after today, so make sure that you complete your evaluations by the end of the day. The Q&A will begin at 12:30. It might last for about an hour, so plan from 12:30 to 1:30. So whatever time we finish our service today, we'll have a little break. You can stretch your legs, refreshment, bathroom, etc., and then we'll come back and begin our time with Reverend Hickey, who I will introduce more formally right before her message today. All right, everything clear? Okay, and we'll refresh you at the end of the service on what we're doing as well. Next weekend, we will also have our second candidate, Reverend David Howard. He will be presenting the message, and we'll have similar instructions given at that time. Okay? Wonderful. We want to thank you so much for your donations. You know how much it means to us to be able to support our community, both here and the community surrounding us. You now know that we are continuing to upgrade and evolve our systems, so we have not only 3 ways to donate, but we recently added a QR code, so that's coming up soon. We'll share that with you shortly. But let's take this moment to bless all the offerings that you have given of your time, energy, and your finances. Please say this with me. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. With gratitude, we commit to using our gifts for good. Amen. Today's daily word for Sunday, August 21st, is gratitude. And the affirmation is, gratitude is my natural state of mind. What a joy it is to feel gratitude rising from my heart and filling my mind. Feeling grateful makes me aware of the all-encompassing presence of God, including the divine within me. When I live from my spiritual nature, gratitude becomes a song of my heart. I don't need to wait for a reason to feel grateful. When I live with an attitude of gratitude, I find the good in every situation, the blessing that can come from any adversity, and the presence of God in every aspect of life. Practicing gratitude opens my eyes to the blessings that are present and opens my heart to receive even more. I give thanks for an unlimited world, blissful peace, and perfect wholeness. Our scripture comes from Psalm 95, verse 2. Let us come into his presence with thanksgiving. Let us make a joyful noise to him with songs of praise. Please say the affirmation aloud with me. Gratitude is my natural state of mind. Thank you. Now I'll have Miss Judy Flemister come up for our prayer. She's our prayer chaplain today.
Good morning. So nice to see you all today, and the ones in TV land, pardon me, as well. So let's take just a moment and close our eyes and get comfortable in our seats as we release the thoughts of the outside and we start to focus on the inside. You take 3 deep cleansing breaths. Our first inhale, we inhale gratitude, and we exhale sharing. As we focus within, we feel our heart center opening up. And we know that the word gratitude actually created the word grace. We have grace at our table. And when we say grace at our table, we are expressing gratitude. So gratitude comes in many, many, many different forms. But we know that it increases our heart health. Gratitude also enhances our relationships. And gratitude allows us to become closer to Spirit. In silent reflection, we consider the fact that gratitude is a great magnet for joy in our life, giving and receiving joy, blessing others, and becoming aware of the fullness of Spirit. We have the realization that God is our continued source of spiritual growth. And we are so grateful that we know this. Namaste.
So let's get still. Just know that we are getting in tune with creative energy. And we experience this moment as unique and new. It is an unfoldment. And we get the feeling that we're coming home, that we are in the presence, no matter how far we've been. And maybe we've been looking at appearances, or we've been involved in the demands of life. We let go of all of that and know that we would just come home in this moment. And we sit in an energy of wholeness, knowing this is the truth of us, that we are in the presence. Whether we call that divine love, or the energy of the universe, or whether we call it God, it's just an essence. The essence that is always active, that is everywhere present. And so we begin within. Always the within. The kingdom is within you. We can feel it. release outer thoughts. We just come home to the awareness of oneness and wholeness. Know that this is nothing to do with outer life. It is just the source of your being. Maybe you forgot about it, but it never goes away. It is you in this moment. And gently feel yourself consciously coming into this place of oneness. You see pure light. You feel pure energy. And sit with that for a few moments. And so it is that you give birth to this new awareness. And you simply say yes to it. A new way of being. Accepting it into your world. Feel that inner guidance. Feel the inspiration. And know that it is right here, right now, at the very point of you. And so from this place of oneness, you look out into your world and see it from the center. You are the light. You radiate out. And you know in your heart that you are at home. And we say yes. And so it is.
Everybody's got a home. Everybody's got a home. A home that lives deep down in your soul. Everybody's got a home. Everybody's got a song. Everybody got a song. A song that'll keep you holding on. Everybody got a song. So don't let yourself get jaded. Don't let yourself give up. Don't let yourself be played by the negative stuff that swirls around in the universe. Yeah. Everybody's got a dream. I know everybody's got a dream that is only yours to keep. Everybody's got a dream. Everybody has got a name. Everybody has got a name that will light your inner flame. And everybody has got a name. You gotta get it started. You gotta plant the seed. You gotta plow the garden and be the one to keep holding on to your dream. Oh, everybody, everybody. Ooh, ooh, oh, yeah, everybody. Everybody has got a home. Everybody's got a home. It's a home that lives deep down in your soul. A home that lives deep down in your soul. You know that it lives deep down in your soul. You got your home. Everybody. Ooh, ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You got a song, you got a name, you got a dream. Everybody's got a home.
Everybody's got a home. Thank you so much for bringing it home for us, Rachel. I'd like to take a moment to introduce our first ministerial candidate, Reverend Ann Hickey. So you may have heard from her meditation. She is Australian. She recently moved from Melbourne, Australia to the United States. As I mentioned, she's accompanied by her husband, Joel. She is a metaphysical minister and was ordained as a unity minister through the Unity of Hawaii. And since 2004, Ann has served in several ministries and recently spoken and conducted unity programs in Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, and here in the US. She has a global perspective, and having spent time in unity ministries around the world, enjoys the many possibilities that unity offers as an evolving church. There's many more things to say about Reverend Ann. If you look at the e-news from this past week, you'll see a longer write-up. And you also have the opportunity to interact with her during the Q&A this afternoon. But for now, let's give a warm Unity of Greenville welcome to Reverend Ann Hickey.
Well, good morning, Unity on Greenville. It's so exciting to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I've been getting to know some of the members of the church on Zoom. And Zoom's great, but you just get to see this much of a person. And now I know that you guys are real people. You're not just heads on a screen. So it's great. Yesterday, Sandra brought us over to the church, and I had a look at this beautiful building that you've got here. It's just simply is gorgeous. But you know what they say, that a church is just a building without the people in it. So here you are this morning, and now I'm really getting the vibration that this is a very special church, and I'm super happy to be here, so thank you. Well, Valerie was telling you a little bit about me, and my husband and I came here in May of this year to the US, and then about a month after we'd been here, I went to the Unity Convention, which was great. I got to catch up with all my Unity friends that I hadn't seen for a few years. But there was a lot of conversation about how quickly the world has changed and how that's affected our church communities. So I was super interested in that conversation and how, you know, all the different things that we need to do to kind of adapt to this new world that we find ourselves living in. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit today, but also to look at community and, what does it mean to be in a community, and what is this thing that we talk about so much? So I was reading some writings of Richard Rohr. He's a Franciscan monk, and he wrote these words, which I think are very interesting. He said, "Pay attention. When considering the wider world, pay attention to your soul, your neighborhood, your local and regional stories. Nurture your personal well-being and that of your community. Otherwise, you will neither thrive in a challenging world nor be useful to the service of the common good." And so I really like the way he says, well, pay attention to what's happening in the world, but look to your local community and, what can you do right here where you are? In 2019, there was a study done of 20,000 Americans, and they found some interesting information about the way people live. Almost half of Americans said that they felt lonely. 57% ate all of their meals by themselves, and 30% of American households have just one person living in them. And I looked at those figures and I thought, well, this is just pre-pandemic, so you could imagine that during the last few years these figures could actually be even higher. But there seems to be a lot of loneliness in those figures. And then they looked at the physical effects, and they found that people who didn't have any social interaction had a 32% higher risk of stroke. Now here's the good news. If you're part of a community, you will live longer. Yes, you'll have better emotional and mental well-being, and a lot of people who are part of community said that what they liked most about community was that they were inspired and that there was a lot of opportunity as well. So that might give you a bit of an idea of why you're here. So one of the greatest examples of community can be seen in the way that Jesus worked and taught in the community. So he always lived among the people. He always taught with just the common people in his community, and he had key teachings which we know, which is love your neighbour, love one another. They were really central to his main teachings. And if we look at the word commune, it actually means of the heart. So Jesus' teachings were very much heart-centered. So how do we connect heart to heart? And I think that was a key part of his teaching. This idea of connecting heart to heart was also very much in the mind of Martin Luther King in the 1950s. He actually followed on from these teachings, and he gave them a name, and he called this heart-centered community that really began with the way that Jesus operated in the community. He called it the beloved community. And so that was a word that people could understand. It was a more contemporary word, and he really developed this idea, encouraging people to be part of this. So he says, what we really want is a community that is beloved, and he explained it as being a collection of individuals who are learning how to love themselves, how to love one another, and how to love the universe. So it was a complete and a whole love. He says that when you're in having an experience of community, you get a sense of belonging, and you experience the world in a way that's individual but also collective. So there's a great depth of fulfillment for people who are part of a beloved community. And he had a global vision, and his vision was that if we shared all the resources that were in the world, there would be no poverty, no homelessness, no prejudice. And he said that this would come about from small spiritual communities such as this one here. So that's really where he saw that society would change through these small groups like your own. So what has happened, people have really taken to the beloved community and what this means, and over the decades they've looked at, well, what are the elements of the beloved community? So what might be the qualities that you would want in that community? And here are some of them. So the first one is compassion, and the whole Buddhist movement probably built around this idea of compassion. We have love and connection, and you might say, well, that's quite a Christian quality. Deep and radical self-knowledge, which speaks to our own awakening, our own wish to be more evolved and to understand who we are so that then we can help others. Healing, well, there's the unity movement based entirely on healing. Vision, having a vision for something greater and bigger than just the day-to-day stuff. Pioneering, being willing to try something new. Evolution and emergence. This is what we were talking about at conference. Community has been evolving, and what's emerging. So what's new? What's this new little thing that's sprouting up? Oh, I've never seen this before, Mutual support, the way that we care and support for each other, not only in our own community, but outside of the church walls. Contribution, which is, what contribution can I make to the community? Possibility. Often we look at this one when we try everything and nothing works. We need something that's outside the square. And resiliency, and that's a huge one for the last few years. So these are just the key qualities that are considered to be part of the beloved community, and you might want to pause and look at that for a moment and ask yourself, well, how does this community speak to some of these qualities? And are there any gaps? And there's always gaps, so don't feel bad about it, but maybe the gap's something that you can fill. So the problem that some of us have these days is that we live in an individualistic society, and that society is really built around ownership. So our culture tells us that we should buy a nice house, and then we fill it up with stuff, and we should have a nice car, and then when we've got those things, maybe we want to have investments or money in the bank, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things, but we all know people who that is their primary focus in life. So I know someone who has 3 jobs, and it's all about making enough money to get those things. I think that it's about balance. So if that's the focus of our life and we don't have time to spend with our partner, or we don't have time for our children, then we find ourselves getting disconnected from other people. And when we become disconnected, that's when we can no longer feel what another person feels. So we see then behaviours such as greed and selfishness. So in tribal society, and what came to my mind was up in northern Australia, there are still groups of Indigenous people who are semi-nomadic, and they don't have this Western idea of ownership that we have. They talk about crossing over the land. And so one tribe will cross in one season, and then in the next season another tribe will go across the land. They don't ever have that feeling that they own the land. It just belongs to everybody. And in fact, they talk about treading lightly. So they have a great reverence for how the land belongs to everyone. And in those sort of more tribal communities, there is no poverty, there is no homelessness. And so I just wonder if maybe we've lost a little bit of the art of what community is really about, and that kind of heart-centered community. So in the scriptures, there's a great story about Nehemiah, and he's the cupbearer to the king of Persia. And you might wonder what a cupbearer is. It's not really a job anymore. But his job was to test the wine for the king. So the king would be given gifts of wine, and he had to taste it to see if it was good, or to see if it was poison as well. So it was a bit of a risky job. But at the same time that he was cupbearer to the king, there was some things going on in Jerusalem. And if we trace back the holy city of Jerusalem, it began with the covenant between Abraham and God, and the Jewish people wanted to build this city for their people. So they built the temple, which was in the center of the city. Next to it was a kind of university where the rabbis could go and train, or you could study the Torah. And then they built a big stone wall around the city, because invasion was a big thing in those days, and that would protect the city. But what happened later on is the Babylonians came along, and they broke down the wall, and they invaded, and they took over the city, and the Jewish people fled. And they went out and they told everyone, the wall of Jerusalem is broken down and its gates have been destroyed by fire. And so when Nehemiah heard this, he said, when I heard these words, I sat down and wept and mourned for days. And so you can imagine, this is his holy city and it's being destroyed. And he's just really heartbroken by what's occurred. And he goes away and he prays on it. And then he starts to get some inner guidance. And what comes to him is that he's getting an inner message that it's his job to go to Jerusalem and to help rebuild the wall. Well, he thinks, how can that be? I've got this really great job with the king of Persia, and it's a big job to do. So he goes and he speaks to the king, and the king says, I think you should go. It's really important, and he gives him permission. So off Nehemiah goes to rally together the Jewish people to rebuild the wall. And when I was reading that story, I think, well, this is an invasion story, and doesn't it just remind you of something that's been happening in the world recently? And I look at President Zelensky in the Ukraine, and I think, well, he's just a modern-day Nehemiah. His job is to rally the people together. What I find really fascinating about this is that if you look at the Holy City, you've got Jewish people, they're all the same religion, speak the same language, they're the same culture. And then when you look at Ukraine, you can see how much society has evolved, because here is a community, people are different religions, they speak different languages, and there's many different cultures there. A lot of those people have been born in other countries. So here is this idea of the evolving community that we were speaking about at the convention. So we call that today, we have a modern day word, we call this diversity, and there's a lot of talk about diversity now and why it's so important. So we see this difference between the old style of community and how we need to do it now. So Nehemiah, in his calling, is really called to step out of his comfort zone. He could have just stayed and been as the cupbearer, but he's got to step out and do something that's really quite challenging. And, in community, that's really where the power of community is, that we can do something that's just much greater than just what we can do as an individual. And I love community because we get to do things together. So it's a place where we celebrate weddings and christenings. We even go through the challenges of life together, such as, funerals, passing of people. And I think in a sense of togetherness, things are easier. Even the harder things are easier. The other day, Joel and I got invited to a restaurant we hadn't been to before, and we had to go on the freeway. This was back in Lee Summit, we don't really know the area very well, but we did get very lost. And I thought if I was driving myself, I would have been really, really stressed about it, but because we were together, it was quite fun, and we did get there eventually. So even getting lost is better when we do it together. So during the pandemic in Melbourne, I had to go into the city, and the city was actually locked down. They said, everybody stay at home, we don't want anyone in there. And I needed to go to a specialist at the hospital in the city. So I parked the car and I got out and I was walking up the main street. And Melbourne is a big city, there's 6.5 million people there, and usually bustling with lots of people. And as I was walking up, I realized there's nobody here. Like, it's just buildings and streets, and I was the only one walking in the street. And I got the eeriest feeling. So, you know, a city is not a city without the people in it. It's just buildings and streets. So, and I think it's a little bit the same in church community as well. It's a building, and then when all of you come in, then it really is a church. So what happened to Nehemiah? Well, he did pretty well. He gathered all of the Jewish people together, and they were building the wall, and they started squabbling a bit. Some people were volunteers. They weren't very skilled at what they were doing. Some people were annoyed it was taking too long, so they were fighting with each other. And then they were complaining about Nehemiah, and, you know, he's this and that. Someone sends an open letter and says, you know, Nehemiah's not doing this or that. And then he gets a death threat. And he goes, what is going on? He felt really devastated by it, because this was his vision, to rebuild the wall so that the city would be protected, and they're all fighting and squabbling, and he thinks, and now someone's going to kill me, and so he feels like the whole thing's going to go down the drain. So he goes and prays again, and he listens, and he gets this inner guidance again. And the message that he gets is, go and talk to the people. And this is what he says. He says, do not be afraid. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome. And they get it. They listen to these words, and they go back, do their work, and they finish building the wall. And Nehemiah is really rapt. He says, this is wonderful, look at this. And, you know, it was a big job. Can you imagine if there was a stone wall right around the city of Dallas, and your job was to rebuild it? That would be a big task, right? So he's done it. He's fulfilled this vision to rebuild the wall. But he looks, and then he says, well, where are the people? And he realizes that he'd been so busy building the wall that he forgot about the people. He forgot about that heart-to-heart connection. And he goes, I know what I have to do. I have to create a homecoming. And so he goes and he gets a list, like a genealogical list of all the people who had lived in the holy city. And he sends out invitations, and then they start coming back. And he goes, yes, now the vision is fulfilled. And so community is a great opportunity for us to engage the heart, to connect with one another heart to heart. And it's also a chance for us to practice some of those beloved community qualities on each other. We can try it out on each other and see how it goes. Community gives us the chance to step out of our comfort zone and to do something bigger than just us, something that we might not be able to do as an individual. And like Nehemiah, we might come across some challenges, but we can always overcome them. And so you're invited to experience the homecoming, so come on in And just know that where 2 or 3 are gathered together, there I am amongst you. And so it is. Thank you.
Caught up in the hustle and bustle, catching the subway into the city. People are cattle on a fast track car, purpose in life just to make their mark. Evening sun setting through the cracks, view of the sky is minimal. Gray stone pavestone, concrete walls. Techno gadget at your beck and call. People nowhere to be found. In these city streets, familiar as they seem, leave me cold inside. In these crowded rooms, rooms with no view, there's something to be desired in this city streets. Oh, yeah. Prices are going through the roof. A bucket of flowers or a pair of shoes. Eyes don't meet, they look away. Casual acquaintances never stay. All this talk about Wall Street and the economy. I want a simple life without any guilt, free and easy with no ill will. Filled with dreams is free for all, but in the city streets, familiar as they seem, leaving me cold inside. And these crowded rooms, rooms with no view, there's something to be desired in this city streets. There is something to be desired. Oh, rooms with no view, there's something to be desired in this city streets. Ribbons of gold against a summer sky, catch a ride on a honeysuckle breeze, winding down on a country lane, and you sit at the river's edge and contemplate. A change of scenery. I need a change. Meet me there. Oh, meet me there on my road. In this city streets. streets.
Thank you, Rachel. And thank you, Reverend Ann, for your message today. The beloved community. Our beloved community has core values, and we like to remind ourselves of those values anytime we have an opportunity. So if you please, looking on the screen, could read these aloud with me. Unconditional love, conscious spiritual transformation, spirit of service, acceptance and inclusion, and expression of divine light. Thank you. Well, our affirmation has been working. We have 2 ministerial candidates, as I mentioned already. But we want to make sure that as we continue the process, that is the right person for where we are. So if you could please affirm with me, we welcome and affirm with love the perfect spiritual leader who embraces the truth of unity principles. Lovely. For those of you who are visiting with us for the first time, or if you haven't been here for a long time, we do encourage you to get a welcome packet in the back if you're here in the sanctuary. For those of you online, you can also go to our website and click on the Connect with Us button, the connection card, and fill out your information. There you'll be privy to our e-news, so you won't miss a single event happening here in our community. And as we close, we'd like to sing the peace song. We'd like for all of you to please stand and sing along.
Yes, there's peace on earth. I know it begins in me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. Because our Creator united are we. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, there is peace on earth, for this is our moment now. With every step I take, I make this my joyous vow. I take each moment, live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, peace on earth, I know it begins in me.
Thank you. As a reminder, we will be having our Q&A session with Reverend Ann. If you would like to stay with us after the service, Wes will go over again the evaluation process. For those of you joining us online, the link has been placed into the comments, into the chat, so please go ahead and fill that out there. We will not be live streaming the Q&A. You must be present to win. So this is our opportunity for the Q&A. And let's close our service with a prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Amen. Thank you.
Build your house on the rock. Let it on firm, solid ground. Take the time to cultivate your heart to what you found. Multiply His word 100-fold, and let the seed be sown. Build your house on the rock, plant it on firm, solid ground. Build it strong so the storms of life will never blow it down. Don't cast aside your portion from the one who laid his life down. Don't cast aside your portion from the one who laid his life down. built a house on the rock.